In this video, we're going to learn about the dynamic input. So open up your set inch template and save it as dynamic input tutorial. Alright, so in every other tutorial, I've told you take your dynamic input and switch it off in the status bar. So you're probably thinking, well, what is it? Well, in this tutorial, we're going to learn what it is. So we're going to turn it on. So go down to the status bar and turn on your dynamic input. Turn your polar tracking and your object snap off. If your object polar tracking is on, turn that one off as well. And we're going to turn on a grid of 1. And you probably already see a difference. When I type, the typing is in the middle of the screen. And let's zoom all. Z enter, A enter. Alright, so down at the status bar, let's right click on the dynamic input icon and enter the settings. So we're going to right click and enter dynamic input settings. In the Dynamic Input tab, click on Settings under the Pointer Input area. And then we're going to activate Polar Format, Absolute Coordinates, and Show Coordinate Tips when a command asks for a point. So those three. And go OK. And OK. Alright, so dynamic input, one thing it does is when you type something, the typing occurs near the cursor. So that's one thing. Other things that it does is what we're going to show you here. So do a line, so you can see that the line coordinates is showing up by the cursor. So the first point of the line is going to be 2, 2. So there we go. There's our first line. And right away you notice a difference, right? You can see the length of the line. You can see the angle of the line. So play around with that for a while. And then we're going to enter 3, 3 as our point. So notice what it did, right? Our first point was 2, 2, which was absolute coordinates. Our next point was 3, 3, which was absolute, so that means it was only 1 unit in the X, 1 unit in the Y, away from our first point. So when we selected absolute, that's what it's entering. It's entering absolute. Alright, so we're going to enter and get out of the line command. Alright, we're going to re-enter the settings. And we're going to change that to relative, see what happens. So another line, and we're going to start from 4, 4. And again, you see the length of the line, angle of the line, and now 5, 5. And you would expect it to be only 1 unit away again, right? Because we're not using the @ symbol to choose relative commands. But wait, what happened? it went 5 units, 5 units. So when dynamic input is on and you have the relative coordinates chosen, it thinks the second point's going to be relative. So that's the difference, right? If you chose that in the settings, you can choose whether the second point's going to be absolute or relative. All right, so let's change that back to absolute. And let's draw another line. So our first point is going to be 3, 2. All right, and we're going to use the tab key to get to the different components of this line. So if you hit the tab key, you'll notice that right now I am on the angle. So you can see that the degree sign is a little red, right? It's highlighted and the degree sign is red. So I'm going to type 45. Hit the tab key again, and now see that 45 is locked. It has a lock on it. And now I can only change the length of the line. So I'll enter 3. And there's my line. All right, so now I'm going to hit the tab key again, and it's on the angle right now, but I want it to be on the length. And I'm going to enter 2, hit the tab key. Now the length is locked, and I can enter the angle. All right, so that's a little bit on dynamic input. There's more to it, but you know, just a little taste of what it does. I personally don't use it. It kind of annoys me to have the numbers at the cursor, but you know, I'm old school. So if you like the dynamic input and you find it useful, by all means, you know, go for it. It could speed up your drawing process. But there's a little bit, explore and learn.